One key trait in our organization, I think among all of the people, is that we do what it takes. That's actually one of our core values. And that's one of the things that we live in our company. We do what it takes. Hey there, it's Jeff Luther, and you are diving into the podcast for the Service Business Blueprint. This is where I walk with you and help you unlock the secrets to building a thriving service-based business. We talk about everything from starting out to setting milestones in your company you didn't even know would exist. We'll cover entrepreneurship, personal growth, mindset, everything you need for success in your service-based business. You ready to build that blueprint? All right, folks, I'm always excited to be back here on the Service Business Blueprint. Glad to pass along what I have learned, both good and bad, and it's always exciting for me. It's always fun. This week's episode, I will tell you, is not a lot of fun, but it's critical. It's not fun because of the circumstances. Actually, remember our last episode? I think it was our last episode. We talked a little bit about mindset, a little bit about, we operate that success is imminent. You don't want to operate that success isn't imminent or anything bad is going to happen, but we reevaluate every 6 months or so. And sometimes we reevaluate more often, depending on the circumstances. In our business, we've had to do some reevaluating as of recent. The real estate market all over the nation, and particularly in our area, is down. And of course, you want to continue to have a healthy, thriving company. And sometimes that calls for change, unfortunately, both that calls for change, good or bad. And sometimes, unfortunately, that calls for change to the negative. So we have had people leave. We have had to let some people go. And I want to talk a little bit about that. This is kind of the ugly side, right? That people don't want to get what I call kind of getting naked. People don't want to get vulnerable. So I'm going to get pretty vulnerable here and discuss, I had to lay some people off. We had to thin down. We had to get back to profit. And with that comes change. Now, in our organization, we had and still have some really amazing people. The challenge here's kind of the challenge. So sometimes we get a little bit complacent, right? As a business grows, it continues to grow, and we stay on that trajectory. And I just talked about last week, we don't operate like success isn't imminent, but we continue to reevaluate. And then when you reevaluate, you continue to make sure that the business is on track, make sure the goals still track, make sure that the goals of the company, the goals of the people are all still aligned, and make sure you're tracking to profitability. If a business is not profitable, then you're either operating as a not-for-profit, and that would be, let's take the American Red Cross, for example. I'm going to challenge all of you to go look up what the CEO of American Red Cross makes. Doesn't mean that the company doesn't generate positive revenue. It just means that the company doesn't operate for a profit. And we'll talk about that again at a later episode. But what do we do when key people leave? How to exit, even when they aren't key people? Letting someone go, whether it be with or without cause, is difficult. It's difficult unless there's something totally egregious, like they've stolen or they threaten another employer or something like that, which it's never happened in our organization. But it's difficult. It's difficult to let people go. So we have to do the same thing every time, regardless of the circumstance. So what we have is an exit checklist where we take back phones, take back computers. I say take back. People turn them in and we check them off. We've never had an instance where we had to physically take them back. It just doesn't happen. So people either turn them in or we get them at a later date. But we have a checklist. We go through all the tools. We take back company vehicle. All of those things are all checked in. And we do, in most instances, we do have to walk people out. Maybe even if they have a company vehicle, we're going to call them a ride share, Uber or Lyft. Or maybe they have to call a relative to come get them. It is not fun. Do you offer severance? Are you prepared for severance? So remember, if we're looking far out, then this is all going to be kind of part of that plan. Sometimes we will do things in these instances to make our sales ourselves feel better, maybe overcompensate for a severance package when people are leaving. Think about that. It should all be part of the plan. Um, and we aren't going to focus on what's coming or what's bad. We're reevaluating every 6 months, and that's part of that plan. More often, we will reevaluate if circumstances require it, a downturn in business, economic downturn, any of those things. So when it was time for us to lean up, we had to do the same thing. Um, One key trait in our organization, I think among all of the people, is that we do what it takes. That's actually one of our core values. And that's one of the things that we live in our company. We do what it takes. I will share with you that has to be lived from the bottom up and from the top down in an organization. Anytime you have one of those key values. And as an owner, you have to do what it takes. And one of the things that I failed to do in our organization is be more supportive and more involved in some of the areas that we had key people. For example, we're now at a point we let people go almost a month ago. And we're now at a point where there are a few things that have gotten cut off, like accounts have been turned off, critical accounts, critical services that we pay to have every month, accounts that were set up in employee usernames. They were set up with employee credit cards. So I'm challenging you now to go through part of that every 6 month reevaluate, go through and see what your critical services are. For example, we have a service that we use for our geo tracking. It tracks all of our equipment. I think we have 70 something radon monitors that are out there running around. They're about $1,000 a piece. And we had a key person in our organization that totally streamlined that process, where we were tracking equipment. It's phenomenal. It's seamless. And with doing that, I got complacent, relied completely on this person. And he not only did this person do their job, but they went above and beyond their job. One of the things that slipped through the cracks was this account was set up in their name. This account was set up with their company card. One of the things that we do on our exit checklist is those cards are canceled or those cards are turned off. So that service was shut off. Service was shut off on a critical day. It was on a Saturday in the morning where we're doing a lot of exchanging of that piece of equipment, a lot of moving for that particular piece of equipment. And when we're moving that equipment, we have to track where it is. We have to check it in, and couldn't do that because it was a Saturday. Couldn't get the invoice paid in time. So that won't happen until Monday. So it's not all rosy. I know that I talk a lot about growth and how to grow an organization, how to put systems in place and all these things. Well, I fail too. And I make mistakes too. And that's part of this service business blueprint that I really am excited about, is I get to pass along these lessons to the other folks that are in our coaching program. This is what we do in Q4. This is called sustainability. So we have our sales and cash flow, right? And then we have our systems, putting our systems in place. Then we have our growth, how to grow it, how to scale it, and then we have how to sustain it. So in Q4, this is part of the sustainability process, how you continue to grow and how you do it effectively and how you do it where you can survive long term. So have trust in your folks. Give them the latitude, give them the opportunity to be successful, give them the opportunity to grow on their own, the opportunity to make decisions, the opportunity to be not only part of the organization, but also a leader of the organization. And you also need to keep close ties with the business. And this is not about people leaving or laying people off or people quitting on its own and in and of itself. Also, what if something happens? What if they get sick? What if there's an accident and there's an abrupt departure right there on the spot? It's imperative that there's always a path for the people that are going to stay in the business to continue those accounts, continue those relationships. It's critical that get revisited every so often, and that there's a plan in place for when those people leave. My suggestion is to have one user ID that all new accounts are set up in, have one company credit card that is linked to the owner of the business. that all those accounts are set up in, and then have a generic series of passwords. Also, maybe a document somewhere, which we have an excellent document that outlines all the passwords. Some of the accounts just never made it to that document. It's easy enough for us to go back now and clean these things up as they start to show up. But we should have a much more proactive approach where these things are never showing up. They have longevity to keep living beyond the person that set the accounts up. So that's my share for the week. For those of you out there that have company credit cards, that have accounts set up, like, mobile phone accounts that people are paying on their own individual credit cards or for reimbursement, or people are paying out of their own specific company credit card, and if those are shut off when they leave, things like that, things we don't think about that are minor but can cause bigger implications down the road. And I know you don't think about it this way, but if you think about, you have one field service technician, they have their cell phone, and it's their cell phone that they're tied to personally, and the company reimburses them a portion of it every month because they don't use it that much. Then that field service technician gets into a role where they're managing people, or they get into a sales role, or they get into a role where they're speaking with outside vendors on a regular basis, and we still have that same cell phone plan in place. If they leave, or if something happens to that phone, or there's an accident, anything happens, then that line of communication is potentially cut off, and that could impact your business. So those are the things that we need to have the forward thinking about, and need to set systems up in place so that the business is protected, and also the folks that you have in your organization can continue to be empowered and continue to make those decisions on their own. I love sharing with you. I hate sharing anything that's not positive, but I also think that all sides of a business need to be evaluated, and it is somewhat gratifying to know that I can share my mistakes along the way to help other folks ensure that they don't make those same things. So if you like what you're hearing, we've got the coaching program now. You can click the link down below and follow us along. And then also, if there are any comments on, anybody wants to share mistakes that they've made in the past, or any good solutions they've had as a result from what I just talked about, let us know. You can write in the comments below, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time here on the Service Business Blueprint. We're hanging out on the Service Business Blueprint with me, Jeff Luther. Stay in the loop as we keep delivering these strategies to supercharge your service business. Hit subscribe, leave a review, be part of our growing community. Now you have someone to walk with you as we create your service business blueprint. Until next time, remember, where you focus is where your energy goes. Beliefs turn to things, so choose the good ones.